بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إخوتي في الله، حفظكم الله. نبدأ بكتابنا اليوم حتى نستفيد and start immediately with our book صفة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, so the time doesn't go by. نحن بارك الله فيكم في الصفحة 62. قال المؤلف حفظه الله تعالى: وعن أنس. قبل ذلك نحن في باب مشروعية التبرك بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بلباسه والاستشفاء بذلك. That is permissible, and the legislativeness of seeking barakah from the Prophet, from his clothing, as you're going to see from his wudu, from his hair, and other things of that nature. We read a couple of hadiths from this. Inshallah, we'll continue in this chapter. قال وعن أنس رضي الله عنه قال: لقد رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والحلاق يحلقه وأطاف به أصحابه فما يريدون أن تقع شعرة إلا في يد رجل. Anas radiallahu anhu, وهو خادم رسول الله. He's the khadim, he's the servant of the Messenger of Allah. I mean, he's with him all the time. خادم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كم سنة? How many years did he serve the Prophet? 10 years. From when he was 10 years old to he was 20 years old. And he grew up with the Prophet. In the days of Umar radiallahu anhu, which is 2 years after the Prophet died, or even after that, he sent him to Iraq, Kufa. هو شاب, he's a young man. The Prophet sent Mu'adh bin Jabal ila Yemen, هو شاب, he's a young man. Young man. تفقهوا في الدين. They learned Islam. ونحن في أمس الحاجة إلى هذا. We need exactly now young men to go study Islam. من يريد؟ من يتطوع? Who's going to volunteer? من يشجع ولده? Who's going to encourage their brothers or their sons to go study? نعم. والله هي النعمة. هي الرفعة. نعم. قال Anas, he said, I saw the halak, the one who's cutting the Prophet's hair, he's shaving the Prophet's head. You saw him shaving the Prophet's head, cutting the Prophet's hair. And the companions of the Messenger of Allah are going around and they're catching the hair. They don't want any hair to fall except it falls in the hand of a man. Somebody has to catch your hair. They don't want one hair to fall and get lost. They use it for barakah. Nah. They use it, they keep it. فيه بركة. ما معنى بركة? What does بركة mean? يا منصر. بركة. نعم خير إلهي. ثبوت الخير الإلهي في شيء. That divine goodness from Allah is in something. قد يكون في عمرك. It could be in your lifespan. قد يكون في وقتك. It could be in your time, blessed time. That in a small matter of time, you got a lot of things done. It could be in your siha. It could be in your house, but you never get sick. You never get sick. The whole year will go by. You don't get a cold. Some people have it in their family. Some people have barakah in their zawaj. Him and his wife, they get along no matter what. Some have it in their house. Barakah in their house. في كل مؤمن بركة. Every mu'min has barakah. ولكن يتفاوت. It differs. ولكن هناك أسباب للبركة. There's reasons for the barakah to descend. نعم. أعظمها الطاعة. نعم. To be upon obedience to Allah. But like I said before, you all make dua for barakah. Say, Allahumma barik li fi ahli. Put barakah in my family. Barik li fi sayyarati, in my car. Barik li fi bayti, in my house. Barik li fi waqti wa mali, in my time and my money. نعم. بارك الله فيكم. نقرأ حديث آخر ذاك في صحيح مسلم. That was in Muslim. This other one that we're going to read now is also in Muslim. And Anas ibn Malik, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أتى مينا فأتى الجمرة فرماها ثم أتى منزله بمينا ونحر. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came to Mina, then he came to the Jamrah, the days of Hajj, then he threw the Jamrah, then he came to his place at Mina wa Nahar, he slaughtered. ثم قال للحلاق, then he said to the one that's cutting his hair, خذ وأشار إلى جانبه الأيمن. He said خذ. He pointed to the right side of his head. I mean, he wants the right side to be taken before the left side. اليمنى قبل اليسرى. فكان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعجبه التيمم. The Prophet preferred the right side in everything, in most things. وأشار إلى جانبه الأيمن ثم الأيسر. He pointed to the right side, then to the left side, then to the left side. ثم جعل يعطيه الناس. The Prophet started giving his hair to his companions. He started giving his hair out to his companions. هل هذه يجوز لنا? Is that permissible for us to do? ولا الشيخ الفاضل ولا الصحابة? Is it permissible for the Sahaba? It's not permissible. نعم تبرك بالصالحين لا يجوز. No, that's not permissible. This is just for the Prophet. وفي رواية أشار بيده صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى جانب الأيمن. One narration, he pointed to the right side of his head. هكذا فقسم شعره بين من يليه. He divided it to everybody who was on his right side. Whoever was there, he distributed his hair amongst them that were there. ثم أشار إلى الحلاق إلى جانب الأيسر. Then he pointed to the left side. فحلقه فأعطاه صلى الله عليه وسلم سليم. The other side, he took all that hair and he gave it to who? Sulaim. Who's Sulaim? من ابنها؟ أنس بن مالك صاحب الحديث. نعم. What was her name? الرميصاء. What's her husband's name? Abu Talha. Now, what's Abu Talha? What's name? Abu Talha's name? Zayd. No. طيب. نعم أحسنت. وفي رواية بدأ بالشق الأيمن فوزعه الشعرة والشعرتين بين الناس. In another narration, he started with the right side, then he started giving out the hair, one hair by two hairs, giving it out to the people. ثم قال بالأيسر. Then he pointed to the left side. فصنع به مثل ذلك, and he cut it just like he cut that side. ثم قال ها هنا أبو طلحة فدفعه إلى أبي طلحة. In this narration, he gave it to Abu Talha. How was that? The first narration, he said he gave it to Sulaim. This one, he says, I gave it to Abu Talha. There's a contradiction. في تناقض. Why? كيف? Yeah, imagine. The first narration, he gave it to Sulaim. In this narration, he gave it to Abu Talha. No, but it's the same story, the same situation. لا يعني أبو طلحة هو زوج سليم. He gave it to Abu Talha to give to Sulaim. We read before that Sulaim, she gave it the sweat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his perspiration in a jar. نعم. Gathered that before. طيب يا إخوة اليوم نقرأ من بارك الله فيكم عمدة الأحكام. نريد نستفيد من الوقت. نحن في باب التيمم. باب التيمم في حديث كنا نأخذ مسائل، لكن اليوم إن شاء الله ندخل في الحديث. حديث الباب. The hadith that's mentioned in this chapter. قال المؤلف رحمه الله تعالى وعن عمران بن حسين أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رأى رجل معتزلا لم يصلي في القوم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, this is after they prayed. They prayed, and the Prophet sees somebody over to the side. They're up here, they prayed. He looks back. After he turns around, he sees somebody didn't pray with them. فقال يا فلان ما منعك أن تصلي في القوم. He said, what prevented you from praying with us? فقال يا رسول الله أصابتني جنابة. يعني he became junub. نعم أصله احتلام. نعم he had a wet dream. We're going to read the whole hadith. فيه شيء من الطول. But they were traveling and they slept past Fajr. نعم. So they found some water and made wudu. ولكن هذا هو احتلم. نعم. He had a wet dream. He wasn't able to pray with them. فقال أصابتني جنابة. So he's just standing on the side. He's junub because he had a wet dream. And he doesn't know what to do. نعم. فقال عليك بالصعيد فإنه يكفيك. عليك بالصعيد. It's upon you to go to the sa'id, and that which is on top of the ground, and make tayammum. As-sa'id, and in the top layer of the ground. نعم. إنه يكفيك. That's sufficient for you. If you don't find any water, that's sufficient for you. نقرأ هذا الحديث. In عمدة الأحكام, this is the hadith he brought, but it's just a portion of the hadith. الآن نقرأه بطول فذكره الشيخ عبد الحميد في شرحه. قال الحديث أخرجه البخاري ومسلم في حديث طويل وله قصة. He said this hadith, it is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim in a long hadith, and it has a story that goes with it. قال إمران كنا في سفر مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأسرينا حتى كنا في آخر الليل. Imran bin Hussein said we were traveling with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we traveled at night until the last part of the night. And traveling at night until it's the last part of the night. Tayyib, somebody just asked me this question. Athuluth al-layl al-akhir, the last portion of the night. This is when it's the best time to make qiyam al-layl. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yanzilu rabbuna ila sama'i dunya hina yabqa thuluth al-layl al-akhir kull layla. Allah comes down to the lowest sky here when the third part of the night remains. فَيَقُولُ مَنْ يَدْعُونِي فَأَسْتَجِيبَ لَهُ. Na'am. Who's calling me so I can answer him? مَنْ يَسْأَلُنِي فَأُعْطِيَ. Who's asking me for something so I can give it to him? مَنْ يَسْتَغْفِرُ لِي فَأَغْفِرُ لَهُ. Who's asking for my forgiveness so I can forgive him? Time. When is the last part of the night? When is this time? How do we calculate it? من يجيب كيف نعرف متى هو آخر الليل? When's the last part of the night? But كيف نحسبه? How can we count it? How are we supposed to know? أحسن يا أخي أحمد. You look at Maghrib. Maghrib is at 9 o'clock. For example, it's 9:05. It's 9 o'clock. Fajr is at what time? 4:30. From 9 to 4:30, how many hours is that? From 9 to 12, that's 3. And then 12 to 4, that's 7.5 hours. So if you divide 7.5 by 3, what are you going to get? 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now, 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2.5 hours. So 2.5 hours before Fajr, that's the last third of the night. 2 o'clock. No, 2 o'clock. That's if you could get up. If you could get up. Now, if you need to sleep at that time, sleep. Now, if you can get up, if it's one day that we could get up. Now, barakallahu fikum. Tayyib. فقال فإنا أسرينا حتى كنا في آخر الليل. They traveled that night until it was the last part of the night. وقعنا وقعة أظن هذا مفتوح. لا وقعة أحلى عند المسافر منها. They stopped and they said we didn't find a rest stop like this for a traveler. فما أيقظنا إلا حر الشمس. Nothing woke us up from our sleep except the heat of the sun. What happened? They slept past Fajr. Nothing woke us up out of our sleep except the heat from the sun, meaning the sun is up. Naam, the sun is up. Naam. Shuruq. Naam. والضحى ما معنى الضحى؟ ما معنى الضحى؟ الضحى هو الضوء والحرارة من الشمس. هو الحرارة من الشمس ذاك الوقت يعني الشمس حار. شروق. So nothing woke them up except the heat from the sun, meaning they miss Fajr. So what do you do if you miss Fajr? Do you get up? Do you make it up? You just leave it? What do you do? What do you do? You just go crazy, you just start throwing stuff and just make wudu real quick? Or you take your time, make wudu like normal. Call it adhan. You just get up and make wudu like normal. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man nama an salatin aw shughila anha fawaqtuha hina yadhkuruha. Nah, this is very important. Whoever sleeps past a salah, or he gets preoccupied from it, then the time for salah is when he remembers. Nah. Is it possible somebody could be working and they forget the salah? Nah. Very possible. Nah. The Prophet just said it right here. Oh, shughila anha. Nah. Somebody could be working and they forget. And sometimes you be like, okay, I just got a little bit left and I'm gonna go make salah. Let me just go here. When he goes to do that, it took him. Nah. So what happens when that happens to you and you honestly forgot? Even a sita? Malik. Nah. There's no ism alaik. You make it up when you remember. Nah. Tayyib indi su'al. What about somebody, they got up late? Nah. Istayqadha mutaakhiran. They normally pray 2 raka'ats qabla al-fajr. لكن ما كان في وقت جاء إلى المسجد وهم يصلون. They're praying Fajr. He didn't get to pray the 2 raka'ats. متى يصليها? Does he صليها مباشرة بعد Fajr? Does he pray immediately after Fajr? Or does he wait until the sun comes up? نعم هو مخير صراحة. هو مخير. لكن هو أفضل بعد الشروق. نعم. After that. But it's not easy just for us to say it's better for him to do it after Shuruq. Maybe after Shuruq, he's working. Maybe he's on the road. Na'am ya Ibrahim. Maybe he's working. Na'am. So it's permissible for him to make it directly after Salah. Why? Because the Prophet said, Man nama an Salah or shugala anha fa waqtu hayna yadhkuruha. So when he kept in the masjid, they was praying Fajr. Na'am. So right after the Salah, so as before he even does his afkar, he stand up and make salah. طيب نكمل هذا الحديث. فكان أول من استيقظ فلان ثم فلان ثم فلان يسميهم أبو الرجاء فنسي عوف. Abu Raja is one of the people in the Senate, for Senate. He said the first one to wake up when we were all sleeping is such and such, fulan, and then such and such. Somebody was naming them, but after a while they forgot their names. ثم عمر بن الخطاب قام الرابع. He was the 4th one to wake up. Umar. وكان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا نام لم يوقظ حتى يكون هو يستيقظ. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, if he was sleeping, nobody would wake him up except that he woke up on his own. Why? لماذا لا يوقظ حتى يستيقظ يا عم صالح؟ نعم ممكن يأتي وحي. Maybe revelations come to him. Revelation comes to him in his sleep. تنام عيني ولا ينام قلبي. His eyes sleep but his heart doesn't. طيب. لأن لا ندري ما يحدث له في نومه. We don't know what happens to him in his sleep. فلما استيقظ عمر ورأى ما أصاب الناس. When Umar woke up and he saw what happened to the people. What happened to the people? They overslept Fajr. كان رجل جليدا. He's a strong individual. فكبر ورفع صوته بالتكبير فما زال يكبر ويرفع صوته بالتكبير حتى استيقظ بصوته النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Umar started raising his voice and saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And he didn't cease doing that until the Prophet woke up. فلما استيقظ شكوا إليه الذي أصابهم. When the Prophet woke up, they complained to him their situation. قال لا ضير أو لا يضير. يعني ما في إشكال. There's no problem. ارتحلوا. So they left the area that they went to another area. فارتحل فصار غير بعيد. They went a small distance. ثم نزل فدعا بالوضوء. They went a little distance. Then they stopped. The Prophet called for al-wadu. What's the difference between al-wadu and al-wudu? And the qiyā of the subuh. Al-wadu and al-wudu. What's the difference? Now, al-wadu is the water and wudu is the action, the fi'l. مثل ماذا? Who can give me another example? مثل ماذا? نعم. السحور والسحور. السحور is the food. السحور is the eating of the food. أيضا الطهور والطهور. الطهور is the water. والطهور is the actual action of making wudu or ghusl. نعم. فدعا بالوضوء. The Prophet called for water. You know, whatever they have with them, but they're traveling. It was enough for them to make wudu. فتوضأ ونودي بالصلاة. They call the adhan. They call the adhan. نودي بالصلاة. فصلى بالناس. The Prophet led them in the salah. They made a jama'ah. Everything went on the same way. فلما انتفل من صلاته. When the Prophet turned around, he finished his salah. إذ هو برجل معتزلا لم يصلي مع القوم. He's with somebody. I guess the person is standing in the back. He didn't pray. He's off to the side. They're outside. They're not in the masjid. They're outside. You see that this person didn't pray. فقال ما منعك يا فلان أن تصلي مع القوم? What prevented you from praying with us? قال أصابتني جنابة. He became junub. نعم. هل فيها عيب? Is that something bad? Something عيب? هل فيها عيب؟ والله ربع عيب. There's nothing wrong with that. He doesn't have to say, come on inside, I need to speak to you about something. He doesn't have to say that. He doesn't. أصابتني جنابة. أنا رجل. I'm a man. I'm a man. I had a wet dream. I'm a man. These things happen. There's no shame. There's nothing embarrassed about it. For our youth, sometimes don't know that at night, if they have a wet dream, they can't just run out the flush. They have to take a shower. So you're saying, if you have a wet dream, just tell me. You don't have to tell me. Just say, I'm going to be delayed. I have to take a shower. You know, sit in the bathroom delaying. You're like, boy, let's get going. And he's delaying in the bathroom. He's scared to say something. Tell me that. Tell me, just go ahead. That you're going to delay. It's no problem. It's no problem. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أصابتني جنابة ولا ماء. There's no water. This water they have is just sufficient to make wudu. It depends. The al-jama'ah is wajib. If he missed the jama'ah, it's not wajib to go to the masjid. ولكن هو طيب لو ذهب إلى المسجد. هذا طيب. فقال رسول الله عليك بالصعيد. It's for you to tayammum. نعم. تقصد, go to the dirt. نعم. فإنه يكفيك. That is sufficient for you. نعم. وفي رواية أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فتيمم الصعيد. ما معنى تيمم بالصعيد؟ يعني اقصد هذا الشيء. Go to the dirt. اعمد هذا. Go to the dirt. How do you make تيمم؟ من يجيب؟ عندك يا حمام، يا عيسى، يا إسحاق، يا من؟ لا أريد غيرك. نعم يا مالك. التيمم. How do you make تيمم if there's no water? What do you do? يا حمزة. نعم يا عيسى. How do you do that? How do you do? You write it on your arms. What do you do? Just write it through your fingers. لا عندك إسحاق. من هذا الدليل رأسه؟ نعم يا ليث. I told you my rule. If you don't know the answer, don't put your head down. I'm going to call you. Don't put your head down. I tell you what I did. If the sheikh used to ask a question I didn't know, I just go like this. I'd be looking at him like I know it, and I don't know. And he never called me. طيب how do you make تيمم؟ عندك على سارية يا أخانا. ما اسمك أنت؟ نعم. ما اسمك أنت؟ عمر. الله يحفظك. يا شيخ التيمم. how do you make تيمم؟ نعم. يا نعم أشرف. how do you make تيمم؟ هذا من هذا بجنبك؟ ما شاء الله عبد السلام. يا أشرف how do you make تيمم? What do you do? نعم. You tap your hands on the earth. Then what do you do after that? Wipe your face. What after that? You wipe your face and you wipe your hands. Or you wipe your hands and you wipe your face. That's it. طيب. جاء من حديث أبي ذر هو عند أبي داود أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الصعيد الطيب طهور المسلم إن لم يجد الماء 10 سنين فإذا وجد الماء فليمسه بشرته فإن ذلك خير. He said الصعيد الطيب, this dirt, good dirt, that's wholesome, is the purification of the Muslim if he didn't find water for 10 years. 10 years, that's the purification. But if he finds water, then he has to use it. He has to use it. So this is where they get this qaida. إذا حضر الماء بطل التيمم. Now, if you find water, then you have to make, you have to use, you have to make wudu, or you have to make ghusl. Now, I'm Ya Bashir.
He breaks his wudu from tayammum. Does he have to make tayammum again?
Good question. Either ahdatha, if he used the bathroom, or he broke his wudu, he didn't break his wudu, it's purification, intaqad, and taharatuhu, he has to yatayammam again. No. هل إذا تيمم للظهر, if he made tayammum for dhuhr, and Asr came in, and he's still on the first tayammum, does he have to make tayammum for each salah, or is still on that person? No, هو ما يحتاج لكل صلاة. He doesn't have to make tayammum for كل صلاة, except if he broke intaqad. I don't know where we get this word from. Broke the wudu. I don't know where we get that. He broke his wudu. No. But like if it nullified, it's better to say nullified. No. طيب يا إخوة.
If you make a tayammum,
أحسنت.
you find the water, you are going to make wudu again?
If you na'am, and stop, you gotta make wudu. But that's what the hadith is that we just read. If you have tayammum and the water comes, na'am. إذا حضر الماء بطل التيمم. If water comes, then your tayammum is no good. You have to use the water. Then you got to make tayammum again. يتممم من جديد. طيب نعم. طيب يا إخوة, عندي سؤال. عندي سؤال كبير. سؤال كبير مثل ذا. هكذا كان الشيخ مقبل يقول رحمه الله. عندي سؤال كبير مثل ذا, like this big. He used to say, I got this big question. طيب كيف يا إخوتي في الله إذا اختلف صحابيان? If two companions, they differ upon themselves, whose side are we going to take? If Abu Musa disagrees with Ibn Mas'ud, who y'all with? I'm going to tell you who I'm with. Who you with? Who you with, Abdul Sabur? Ibn Mas'ud or Abu Musa? Ibn Mas'ud, he's a fulan, Ibn fulan. Yeah, Mahmoud, you with me? And Abu Musa, Abu Musa came from Yemen. He من أصحاب هجرتين. He made hijrah 2 times. Naam. Who you with? Who's going to answer? I'm Saleh. Who you with? Ibn Mas'ud or Abu Musa? They disagree upon an issue. Who we go with? Isbir. Ya Saleh. نعم كلامك جميل. نعم whoever has dalil. نعم الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. All you who believe obey Allah and obey His messenger and those in authority from amongst you. فإن تنازعتم في شيء, if you disagree about something, فردوه إلى الله والرسول, take it back to Allah and His messenger. نعم. وما اختلفتم في شيء فحكمه إلى الله. Wherever you disagree about anything, the decision is with Allah. Look at this issue here. اختلف فيه أبو موسى وابن مسعود. It's an issue, they disagreed in it. But when the hukm, when the dalil was with Ibn Mas'ud, Abu Musa accepted it. نعم. سئل أبو موسى عن وابنة ابن وأخت. تعرف هذا يا أم صالح. Abu Musa was asked about a daughter, ibnatu ibn, the daughter of a son and a sister. Meaning a man died and he left a daughter, he left his son's daughter, he left his own daughter, he left his son's daughter, which is his granddaughter. He left his daughter, his granddaughter, and his sister. That's all he left. How does the money get distributed? As is the mirah. فقال أبو موسى لبنتي النصف. The daughter, she gets half. وللأخت النصف. And the sister, she gets half. And the money's gone. The money's gone. We still got somebody remaining, right? نعم. قال وأتي ابن مسعود سيتابعني فسيتابعني. Go to Ibn Mas'ud and ask him, he's going to agree with me. You'll go to ask him, he's going to agree with me. فسئل ابن مسعود وأخبر بقول أبي موسى. So they asked Ibn Mas'ud and they told Ibn Mas'ud what Abu Musa said, that you're going to follow him. So تتابعه. قال لقد دللت إذن وما أنا من المهتدين. إيش كلام قوي. He said, meaning if I follow him, I have gone astray and I'm not about guidance. If I follow him. أقضي فيها بما قضى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. خلاص. هذا الفاصل. He said, I'm going to judge in it what the prophet said about it. That's over. فماذا قال؟ كم للابن؟ من يجيب؟ كم يا شهاب؟ كم للبنت؟ وكم لبنت الابن؟ وكم للأخت؟ للأول كم للبنت؟ بنت النفس. نعم البنت النفس. وبنت الابن. بنت الابن السدس. What do you call that sudus? يا عبد الحميد, what do you call that sudus? تكملة الثلثين. تكملة الثلثين. سندرس هذا. وما بقي فللأخت. So he said the daughter is going to get a half. Na'am. The granddaughter, she's going to get a 6. What is the 6? What is the 6? Na'am. If it was 2 daughters, two daughters get thuluthan. Na'am. It is 2 daughters, but one is on the high. It's his daughter and his granddaughter. It's 2 daughters, but they're on 2 different levels. 2 daughters get 2/3. We're going to give the big daughter, what? A half. And this one's going to get the rest of that half, which is a sudus. Now, takmila as-sulutain. It's the completion of 2/3. Now, and that what's left is for the sister. Tayyib ya ikhwa, indi su'al. Who you with? Na'am.
This means that the deed is inherit from the grandfather?
No. Either if it's no hajib.
If their father is, if the parents pass away.
Nah. If the parent is not there. Nah. So when we see here that it's a girl and the granddaughter, meaning his son is not there. They didn't mention the son. So he's dead. Nah. فالابن وابن ابن وابن ابن ابن هذا ابن. نعم. واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب. We call all of them my father. No. Even though his grandfather and father, they're all father. No. So the al-hafid huwa ibn. No. The grandson is a child. No. أحسنت. كلام طيب. No. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called out Ibn Abdul Muttalib. Who's Abdul Muttalib? It's his grandfather. That's his grandfather. Meaning the grandson is what? Is a son. Inna bini hadha sayyid. Na'am. The Prophet said hadha fi man. قال hadha fi man. Inna bini hadha sayyid. Hassan. Hassan. قالوا في حسن. طيب ايش انت مع من اذا اختلف ابو هريره وابن عمر؟ انت مع من يا ابراهيم؟ اختلف ابراهيم عفوا ابو هريره and Ibn Umar, they disagreed upon the issue. Who are you going to be with? No, hold on, that's Ibn Umar now. انتبه. That's Ibn انتبه. نعم يا معين انت مع من؟ هذا ابو هريره. احفظ الصحابة. Who are you with? أنت ليه انتبه؟ نعم يا نبيل أنت مع من؟ Who are you with? Abu Hurairah, he's the most memorized of the Sahaba. Who are you with? That's what I want everybody to say. I'm with the Dalil. I'm with the Dalil. Now, for with these Jahabir, with these mountains, if we're going to be with the Dalil, with these mountains, there's nobody bigger than them. Then what you think about Imam Malik, that mountains too, and Abu Hanifa and Imam Shafi'i, if they disagree with the Dalil? Now, look at this hadith. And the Khabbab, قال يا عبد الله بن عمر ألا تسمع ما يقول أبو هريرة. Khabbab, he says to Abdullah bin Umar, you hear what Abu Hurairah is saying? أنه سمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, he's claiming that he heard the Prophet say, من خرج مع جنازة من بيتها صلى عليها ثم تبعها حتى تدفن كان له قيراطان من أجر كل قيراط مثل أحد. Whoever follows a janazah comes out of his house. And let me stop here. That's where the janazah used to come from. It used to come from the house. It wasn't like there's a janazah place or was a place in the masjid. So when you're in Yemen, you see everybody who go in at somebody's house. There's a big crowd in front of that house. And they bring the janazah out, ala notch. And everybody's gathered in it. Boom! They go over there. Na'am. MashaAllah. MashaAllah min ayyam. Na'am. So whoever follows janazah when it comes out of the house, and he follows it until, and then he prays over it, and he follows it until it's buried. He has 2 qirat. He has the reward of 2 qirat. Each qiraat is like the Jabal of Uhud. It's like the mountain of Uhud. وَمَنْ صَلَّى عَلَيْهَا ثُمَّ رَجَعَ كَانَ لَهُ مِنَ الْأَجْرِ مِثْلُ أُحُدٍ. Nah. Whoever prays over it and then goes back home, he doesn't wait until it's buried. He gets just one. He just gets one qiraat. اسمع أنا في الحديث. نعم. فأرسل ابن عمر خبابا إلى عائشة يسألها عن قول أبي هريرة. For Ibn Umar, he heard that if you go there, that Abu Hurairah was saying, if you make salah and you stay there at the graveyard, at the maqbara until it's buried, you get 2 qiraats. But if you leave, you only get 1. He told Khabbab, go to Aisha and ask her about this. He wants proof. نعم. ثم يرجع إليه فيخبره ما قالت. He went and he said, come back and tell me what she says. عفوا. وأرسل ابن عمر خبابا إلى عائشة يسألها عن قول أبي هريرة ثم يرجع إليه فيخبره ما قال. وأخذ ابن عمر قبضة من حصى المسجد يقلبها في يده حتى رجع إليه الرسول. So he's waiting for the person to come back. He took a coop of rocks in his hand and he's turning around his hand and just waiting until this guy comes back with this answer. And he's feeling like, I think I lost out. All these times I've been going to the janazah all these years. So he has these rocks in his hand and he's يقلبها in his hand. نعم. قالت عائشة صدق أبو هريرة. Aisha said, Abu Hurairah is right. He told the truth. فضرب ابن عمر بالحصى الذي كان في يده الأرض. He took the stones in his hand, he threw it on the floor. نعم. قال لقد فرطنا في قراريط كثيرا. He said, we wasted a whole bunch of qaratit. I wasted a whole bunch of reward. He regretted. So in this ikhtilaf that was between Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah, the Dalil supported whoever was on correct. Tayyib, what you going to do? أنت مع من إذا اختلفا أبو موسى وعمر بن الخطاب يا أبا أنور. هذا عمر انتبه. And that's right, but who you with? You got to pick one. This is Umar ibn al-Khattab, Khalifati, Rasulullah. He's the Khalifa. This is Abu Musa. Like a little, he gave his own name. He's old enough to be his father. No, أنت مع من? Who you with? Tayyib, you got to choose one side. Yeah, but you can't. ما في أبو شريحتين. أحسن. You're with the Dalil. You're with the Dalil. Everybody say, أنا مع الدليل. طيب. الحمد لله هذا حديث. أنا أبا سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه يقول كنا في مجلس عند أبي بن كعب. We were in a sitting group with أبي بن كعب. فأتى أبو موسى الأشعري مضغبا. Abu Musa came and he's upset. مضغبا. مغضبا. جزاكم الله خير. نبهوني. مغضبا. نبهوني. نعم. Abu Musa came and he's upset. حتى وقف until he stopped and he sat with them. قالوا أنشدكم الله. Ask you about Allah. هل سمع أحد منكم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول الاستئذان ثلاثا فإن أذن لك وإلا فرج. Any of you are here? The Prophet said that knocking on the door, seeking permission to come in is 3 times. If they answer you, if not, then leave and go. قال أبي وما ذاك. He said, why are you asking us that? قال استأذنت على عمر بن الخطاب أمس 3 مرات. I went to Umar's house and I called him to go in his house 3 times. فلم يؤذن لي. He didn't give me permission. فرجعت. So I left. Like the Prophet said, I left. ثم جئت اليوم فدخلت عليه فأخبرته أني جئت أمس فسلمت ثلاثة ثم صرفت. I came today and I told him I came yesterday. I called out to you, salam alaikum, salam alaikum, 3 times, and then I left. You didn't answer. فقال قد سمعناك ونحن حينئذ على الشغل. He said, we heard you, but we were busy doing something. We heard you, but we were busy. فلو استأذنت حتى يؤذن لك. If you should have just kept on calling and calling and calling and calling 4, 5, 6, 7 times until we gave you permission. فقال استأذنت كما سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, I sought permission to come in like I heard the Prophet tell me. For Umar said, فوالله لأوجعن ظهرك وبطنك. لا إله إلا الله. قال عمر فوالله لأوجعن ظهرك وبطنك أو لتأتين بمن يشهد لك على هذا. I'm going to put pain on you. I'm going to hurt your back and your stomach unless you come with somebody to bear witness that the Prophet said that. Man, that's not, he come, he's all upset. He's like, did you hear the Prophet say this? Umar threatened him. And then, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you in your back and your stomach. And you come to somebody and you would have witnessed that the Prophet said that. Like, I'm with the Prophet all my life. I never heard that. So now he's telling them what happened. فقال أبي ابن كعب فوالله لا يقوم معك إلا أحدثنا سنا. Subhanallah. Ubay ibn Ka'b said, Wallahi, nobody is going to come on your behalf and bear witness except the youngest one from amongst us. Everybody knows this hadith. Naam. So they call Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Naam. قال يا أبا سعيد فقمت. Abu Sa'id said, قمت حتى أتيت عمر. He came to Umar. فقلت قد سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول هذا. He said, I heard the Prophet say that. Imagine his voice when he came to, imagine, into someone sold to, someone like that. I just imagine how he came to Umar. فقال عمر خفي علي هذا من أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الهاني عنه السقف بالأسواق. He said, this thing was passed me by. From the situation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I was preoccupied for me being busy in the souk, selling and buying in the souk with dunya. That's what Umar said. Dunya preoccupied me from that. Because he thought that he should know that. If you all know that, they sent the youngest of people. باقي عمر أنت مع من إذا اختلف عمر مع حكيم بن حزام. مع الدليل. انظر إلى هذه القصة قصة عظيمة كلها في الصحيحين. قال عمر بن الخطاب وهذا ليس حكيم بن حزام بل ابنه هشام بن حزيم ابن حكيم بن حزام. قال عمر رضي الله عنه سمعت هشام بن حكيم بن حزام يقرأ سورة الفرقان على غير ما أقرأها. He said, I heard Hisham ibn Hakim Hizam reading Surah Al-Furqan on other than what I read. I didn't read it like that. كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أقرأنيها. The Prophet taught me this. He read this to me. لقنني. He read it to me. كدت أن أعجل عليه ثم أمهلته حتى انصرف. لا إله إلا الله. يعني كاد يأخذه في الصلاة. He said, I was about to grab him while he was praying and snatch him out of the salah, but I held myself until he finished. Umar, subhanallah. Just because you heard him say something different from what he memorized, he was about to snatch him out of the salah while he was praying. He said, I waited until he finished. لببته بردائه فجئت به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I grabbed him by his collar And I came to him to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's grabbing by his leader. فقلت فجئت به رسول الله. I came to him to the Messenger of Allah. فقل إني سمعت هذا يقرأ على غير ما أقرأتنيها. I heard this person reading Surah Al-Furqan on other than what you read to me. What do you think the Prophet said to him? Al-Silhu, let him go. And the Prophet still, and Umar still massacred. Let him go. Fakku. Na'am. Still holding him. Al-Silhu. Na'am. ثم قال له اقرأ. The Prophet told him, read. فقرأ. The person read. So the Prophet said, هكذا أنزلت. The Prophet said, that's how it came down. ثم قال لي اقرأ. Then he said to Umar, you read. فقرأت. He said, I read. قال هكذا أنزلت. He said, it also came down like that. إن القرآن أنزل على 7 أحرف. The Quran came down on 7 different أحرف. نعم. فقرأوا منه ما تيسر. Read from it that which is easy for you. والأمثلة على هذا كثير. Examples of the Sahabas disagreeing is a lot. ولكن أنت مع من? Who are you with? أيها السني? أيها السني, you Sunni. Now, who are you with? أيها السني? I'm with the دليل المتوثق. نعم. هذا معنى السنة. نعم. You're with دليل أينما كان. Wherever it goes, you're with دليل. أسأل الله يعيننا جميعا على طاعته ويثبتنا على الحق إلى نلقاه. And you keep us firm حتى until we meet him. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.